Hello, and welcome to Eagles Power Hour, your official, unofficial Eastern Washington affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Patrick Frakes, and today we are doing a little basketball recap from last week's Saturday matchup with Northern Arizona, as well as a little preview for the Montana games this upcoming week. Um, Also, a little bit of news regarding football. I think the next football episode we're going to be doing is here in February on signing day or upcoming near signing day, covering who all signs there. Most of the class did sign their letter of intent in December. There were a few guys that I've seen committed on Twitter that didn't quite yet, and then there will also probably be some last minute transfers and stuff like that. So we shall see. But moving on into basketball, we are covering Eastern's walloping of Northern Arizona on the men's side of things. Um, this game was really not very close throughout. Um, both teams kind of traded buckets early, and then uh, Northern Arizona stud, uh, post, Carson Basham ended up leaving the game with some sort of an ankle injury, like a little stinger. He didn't seem too hurt, but once he left the floor, Eastern just had a glaring advantage inside. They were just pounding the ball inside, even because there were a few threes weren't falling early. Eventually, they did start falling, but Eastern just pounded the ball inside and was able to kind of score at will in the paint. Um, Once Eastern kind of built a 12 to 15 point lead, they really didn't let go of that the rest of the game. Um, they played really tough defense. Eastern played very tough defense, making Northern Arizona really work for every bucket they got. Um, Northern Arizona only scored 25 first half points. Eastern was really making them shoot a lot of outside, just contested or really deep threes that just weren't good looks. And they shot 7% from 3-point land in the first half. 33% from the field. Eastern really made it tough on them. Didn't allow any easy buckets inside, which was good to see. Uh, Basham's a stud. He was really the only guy that was able to reliably score on Eastern Washington in that first half. He had something like 15 points at the half. Really, he was taking over that game. He was the only one that NAU was looking at. Coming in, Trenton McLaughlin is NAU's leading scorer coming in. He's a really good shooter, and he really didn't even do much in the first half. He was really letting the game come to him. And then once the second half came, he kind of started taking a lot of shots, and they just weren't really falling for him. Um, a lot of contested shots that are not easy to make. Eastern's playing really tough interior defense. Like I said, making them shoot those perimeter shots. They launched a whopping 14 three-pointers in that first half and only made one. It was really, really just a masterclass on the inside there. Basham definitely got his points, though. He did every once in a while he'd get a little matchup with the way that Eastern likes to rotate really hard and kind of play their positionless basketball. Every once in a while, Basham, who's 6'10 ish, 6'11, gets matched up with kind of a shorter guy and ends up just kind of having an easy bucket inside. I know at one point he got matched up with Magnuson on the block somehow. That was tough, but it's okay. Um, you know, like I said, NAU, like all they could do offensively was go to Basham. That was all they could do. I have a screenshot of the first half points here that I need to pull up. I believe Basham had 12 of their 25 first half points. He was shooting 5 for 8 from the field. He had 3 rebounds at the end of the first half. He really was kind of their whole offense, is at least what it felt like. Um, Other than that, Jaden Jackson had a decent first half, hitting a couple of pull-up jumpers that were pretty difficult. McLaughlin had 5 points. He came in averaging over 18 points a game. He was coming off something like a 25-point outing versus Idaho, so kind of expected him to be the go-to guy for them, and he just really wasn't. Um, and then on the other end of the floor, NIU's defense was just piss poor, man. They were not good really at all. Eastern shot 51% from the field in the first half, scoring over 40 points, 44 points. Kind of everything seemed to be working for Eastern Washington in that first half. Offensively, it was, nice to see everyone kind of, the usual well-rounded scoring in that first half. Ethan Price had 14 points at the half. Coward had 7. Casey Jones had 6. Uh, you know, pretty average half offensively for Eastern Washington. Eric Strip had 5 points off the bench. Zonky came in and hit a 3, which is cool to see. You know, nothing too insanely exciting going in. Going into the locker room at the half with a 19-point lead. Eastern just kind of had this one from the jump. It was what it really felt like. Eastern was crashing the glass really hard and let them extend that lead all the way up to 17 points at one point. Really pretty dominant first half. Then the second half came, and NAU was able to close the 19-point deficit that they were in the after the first half down to I believe they closed it down to single digits at one point. And how they did that was they just forced a bunch of turnovers, and they really didn't force the turnovers. Eastern was giving them turnovers. Um, Turnovers were a big problem in this dang game, uh, especially early in that second half. I mean, they kind of got it cleaned up towards the end, but still, Eastern gave up 18 turnovers in this game. That just can't happen against better teams in the league, and that makes me a little nervous looking forward. There was a lot of dumb passes. There was, being too aggressive, stuff like that. That I don't know if that's going to happen in a bigger game, but that is kind of the one Achilles heel that was happening in this game. Also gave up 9 offensive rebounds, but really 4 of them were just Basham. That dude is really good ball player. He's top 5 in a lot of stats, like big man type stats in the conference, and he really had a good game, but other than that, they really didn't do anything. NAU shot a lot better in the second half. They actually went on a pretty hot streak early in the second half. They hit like 3 or 4 threes in a row, those deep threes that Eastern had been forcing them to hit. I believe number 4 Oakland Fort hit a couple. He hit 2 back-to-back threes in that second half that kind of gave him a little bit of momentum. He also had those 4 steals. McLaughlin also had 5 steals. He had a decent defensive night, but offensively he just wasn't typical McLaughlin. Basham was absolutely dealing in the second half as well. He had 10 points in the second half. Really, he was the go-to guy. Had a nice night. He was pretty comparable to what Price was doing on the other end, besides the 3-point shooting that Price likes to do. But yeah, other than that, Eastern really didn't let that lead go. They built it back up with a lot of second chance points. Looking here, 14 offensive rebounds turned into 19 second chance points, which was a big deal. Um, it's good to see there. It's good to see Eastern hitting the boards hard because that's something that hurt them in a few other games, giving up offensive rebounds. So going and getting those offensive rebounds was nice to see from these guys growth wise. Just kind of overall takeaways from everything. Eastern had a big advantage inside. They were able to build that lead back up uh, after NAU got hot and was able to make it a little close here, but a little close there. They built that lead back up with those second chance buckets. Lot of offensive rebounds. Airstrip had 3 offensive rebounds. Watts had 3 offensive rebounds. I believe Coward and Magnuson both had 2 offensive rebounds as well. But the glass was big here. Like I said, that advantage inside was huge. Being the 14th tallest team in the country really pays off in Big Sky play. Eastern out rebounded Northern Arizona 41-23, which is like a legitimately insane rebound differential. I don't remember seeing one that crazy in a college game in a long time. Eastern only gave up 14 total defensive rebounds. Eastern was lights out. If they missed a shot, they were rebounding it offensively and or turning the ball over. That's a part of that really low defensive rebound total, but only giving up 14 total defensive rebounds in a game is crazy. And Basham had 9 of the team's 23 rebounds, 4 of those being offensive rebounds. So, Basham really was most of their production overall. Just kind of looking at the box score, who else rebounded the ball? Fort rebounded the ball well. That's a 6'2" guard. You know, Camposano is their kind of their backup big man, had 3, but they just did not rebound the ball well at all. They had to go small a lot in this game. Basham got into a little bit of foul trouble as well as Jaden Jackson kind of later into the game. Liam Lloyd had 4 fouls most of this game as well. The Spokane native that the Eastern student section was definitely poking plenty of fun at. But that was just domination. And this game shouldn't have been close at all. The fact that it was within single digits in that second half is actually just bad. Straight up bad. That second half start of performance was not a good performance at all from Eastern Washington. It really was almost a collapse there for a minute with turnovers. And if Eastern can just average 9 turnovers rather than 15, 16, 18 turnovers, Eastern wins these games by 20 plus points. And, especially with a rebound margin 41-23, it shouldn't be close at all. But that 18 turnovers just cannot happen. And, Eastern was easily able to recover that lead once they just took care of the ball a little bit, and it was fine. I kind of mentioned this earlier. NAU is almost solely dependent on Carson Basham with the 22 points and 9 rebounds. He was really doing everything for them offensively, especially defensively a little bit too, but he was kind of trying to chill out because he got into a little bit of foul trouble. You know, Eastern really likes to go at the other team's stud players and get them into foul trouble, put that pressure on them defensively, because a lot of the times it's either you're going to foul and play tough defense or you're going to kind of back off and give up the easy bucket. And it's a nice thing to see, Eastern take advantage of stuff like that. When Basham left the court, NAU couldn't get anything going offensively unless Fort was hitting kind of a wished 3, and only giving up 6 3-pointers this whole game was a really good defensive outing for Eastern Washington, forcing them to take those deep NBA range threes that they just aren't they're not a great shooting team in general, and then them just not being a good offensive team, giving up 85 points, and Eastern shot the ball back up towards their normal ranges after a tough shooting night versus Northern Colorado. Couple of box score things here. Price had a very nice outing. He had 20 points, 5 rebounds, and assists. But again, 4 turnovers. That's tough. Coward was back to kind of his usual numbers here, 15 points, 2 blocks. He had an assist and a steal, as well as his 5 rebounds. Casey Jones, Kyman, Magnuson having typical games for them. 13 points, 2 steals, and 3 rebounds for Casey Jones, getting to the free throw line, shooting 9 foul shots. But again, 5 turnovers from Casey Jones. That can't happen. That has to be a big point of emphasis for these guys. Kyman had his 12 points, 55% shooting. He hit 2 threes. He had 2 rebounds and 2 assists as well. Magnuson had his typical, single digits in points, but 7 rebounds and 3 assists. I really love how Magnuson crashes the glass. 2 offensive rebounds was really nice, as well as his 5 defensive rebounds. Awesome to see a little guy like him be so crafty on the boards. And again, a typical theme for Eastern Washington, the energy off the bench was really fun. 21 total bench points. Eric Strip had 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 of them being offensive rebounds, as well as 2 assists, a block, and a steal. And Watts was doing everything but scoring tonight, including turning the ball over. He had 5 points, but he had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and 5 turnovers. He was dishing the ball, man. He was making some awesome passes, but he also started getting a little too aggressive passing the ball, and it led to a few pretty dumb, unforced turnovers. But I like seeing Watts do that. I like him being aggressive with the ball. I would like to see them take care of the ball a little bit better. But Watts was making some awesome passes that were really entertaining. Little dishes down on the block and stuff like that. That was really fun to see. We also got a Watts 3 today, which is, rare but fun to see. Zonky hit a 3 off the bench. I mentioned that earlier, but it's nice to see him get a little bit of time. The true freshman from Croatia, he really looks like he's a guy with a really high ceiling. He's very athletic and tall, and the fact that he can go knock down a 3 off the bench as a freshman. Fun to see. Um, we didn't see Mason Williams in this game. I'm not sure what's going on with him. He was a guy that ESPN the ESPN Plus brought, or SWX, I guess I should say, or who, I think it was ESPN Plus. Anyways, they really highlighted him before the game, and he was just sitting there in street clothes, not warming up. So not sure what's going on there. Hopefully, he's just kind of resting something small, getting ready for this week, because it is nice having his 3-point ability off the bench there. Hartman had his typical solid game off the bench. Not a ton on the box score, but he did have he missed a couple free throws that you'd like to see him knock down, but he had his 2 rebounds, an assist, and a steal, playing really good defense, being in the right place at the right time all the time. 3 points. Solid outing from him. Typical for him as a true freshman. Again, dominant win for the men, but it's just the turnovers need to be cleaned up for sure. Looking at the Big Sky standings now, I put Eastern back, or keeps Eastern in first place, and NAU moves down into the 6th slot, I think that is. But just peeking forward a little bit right now, that Northern Colorado win was huge, putting Eastern ahead by 2 games in the Big Sky. But Montana State are right there at 3 and 4, waiting to host Eastern Washington, with the big target on Eastern's back here in Big Sky Conference play. Man, Weber's having a tough season. We all thought they were going to be awesome, but I think they got beat by Idaho State on Saturday. Tough look for them, but Idaho State's scrappy little team. Alrighty, and now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to talk about the women's first Big Sky loss. They lose in overtime down in Flagstaff to Northern Arizona. This was a tough game. You know, it was our first conference loss so far this year, and it was tough. It was just a tough game to watch, because it did feel like Eastern had what they needed to, and they made the plays down the stretch to get it to overtime, but it just didn't work out for them. Northern Arizona got out to an early lead in this game. They went on a 13-6 lead going into the first media timeout. Glancy was absolutely dealing in the post. Their stud forward, Sophie Glancy, she had an awesome day. But Eastern turnovers, and they just couldn't knock down a shot in the first couple minutes there, except for Jamie Loetta, who seems to be misconsistent, and this team always shows up in the big moments, and when the team's struggling, she had a day in that NAU loss. Eastern's turned the ball over early, not shooting well, couldn't make, like Millie Knowles missed a shot that she would typically make. It was tough. But Loetta was making all the plays in that first couple minutes. She forced 2 Northern Arizona turnovers with just, active hands, being a really good defender. She hit 2 threes that made the score 13-6. She had a nice first quarter there, but then after that, it was kind of just a back and forth of hitting contested shots. NAU's offense was awesome this game. Like, there was a few little defensive breakdowns, but they were hitting like really contested, tough shots. Contested. They were getting to the basket, but it was contested layups, like falling away from the basket, kind of little scoop shots that they were just knocking down contested threes, deep threes, and it was tough because Eastern wasn't playing god awful defense. They were just getting beat offensively. NAU hit a couple of really 2 tough threes towards the end of that first quarter. But the Eastern defense played tough the rest of that second quarter, only giving up 6 points. I think it was something like 7 minutes of game time. They only gave up 7 points. Or 6 points? Yeah, 6 points. They gave up 2 tough 3-point shots. That's contested 3-point looks that usually a coach would typically take that any day. But this is where we started to see Aaliyah Alexander to heat up towards the end of that first quarter. Like you could see here, she finished the game with 31 points, had an absolute day. She was really fun to watch in this game. But both teams really dealing that first quarter, trading buckets. Both teams shot over 50% from 3. Eastern shooting 60% from 3. NAU shooting 50%. Both teams shooting over 40% from the field. kind of just an offensive showcase there early, besides the odd turnover. Um, Moving on, it was NAU was up by 1 point after one, and then this second quarter was absolutely brutal by the Eags. As you can see in the summary here, the Eags scored just 6 total points in the second quarter. Eastern shot a combined 1 for 12 from the field. That is good for 8%. And they made one field goal, which was a 3-pointer by, I think it was Jada Martin, and 3 free throws by, I believe, Leo Alexander made 2 of them, maybe 3, all 3. I can't quite remember, but it was a really, really brutal. This has kind of been the story of Eastern's offensive struggles this year so far, is they just hit like a cold spell, and it is just over for them. Like, they just cannot hit a shot to save their life. It's tough because this Eagle team played great defense this whole night, and the stats don't really show it, but they're forcing turnovers. I believe they forced 15 total turnovers in this game, or 14. They forced 17 turnovers in this game. Like, they played good defense. They just could not. NAU just was better today offensively. They just couldn't be stopped at times, and it was brutal. NAU hit 10 threes in this game. Leia Beatty hit a couple of really tough ones in the second quarter there. They played good perimeter defense, the East did, but inside is where NAU really took this game over. Like I said, Beatty hit 2 tough threes, but the rest of the points in that second quarter were all inside looks, making tough layups. Glancy had a couple of tough plays. Robodeau, I believe is how you pronounce Emily Robodeau. Rodabo, I don't know. Number 21 for NAU hit a couple of really tough layups, as well as I believe number 5 did it. Was it number 5? I can't remember. It might have been number 5. Yeah, I think it was number 5. Anyways, they made a couple of really tough plays, and hats off. You can't really do much. Like, besides stop them from getting inside, there's not a ton you can do. And it's tough. They made a bunch of tough shots. They have some tall girls, Rodabo, whatever her 21's name is. She hit a couple of really tough layups. She's tall. She's like 6 foot tall as a kind of a guard for them, and so she's a tough matchup for many Eastern defenders. But the offensive woes were kind of what did it here. NAU was very consistent throughout the game, scoring 19, 18, 20, 16, 16. Like, they got their about 20 points per quarter, and Eastern couldn't match that. But going into halftime, Eastern was down by 13 points going into halftime. 13 points going into halftime. That's brutal. It's really tough to come back from double digits, especially to a team as good as Northern Arizona, and being a team like Eastern who's really struggled and had their cold streaks offensively, as well as giving up a lot of offensive rebounds. They gave up 8 offensive rebounds in that first half. A bunch of them went to Glancy there, but moving into the second half, they really kind of took over the second half. They played well offensively in the second half. Eastern did. Just looking here, 47% both in the third and fourth quarter, as well as making 3 of 10 for threes. But 30% from the 3-point line, not the greatest, but they were timely threes. And if we could shoot a little bit better from the 3-point line, that would have been nice. But it was kind of the same story. They made it hard for Northern Arizona in the third quarter, and they scored pretty efficiently, making those tough shots Eastern did, but NAU just could not miss. They are very consistent throughout this game with their 44%. They hit 3 really tough threes that put Eastern kind of behind still, and Eastern put up the points that they needed to potentially get back in this game, but couldn't get the stop. Outscored them 22-20, going into the fourth quarter down by 11 points. It was a really tough third quarter, tough battle, really even matchup is what it felt like. And then this fourth quarter was really, really entertaining, but it was kind of not entertaining at the same time. Um, Jamie Luetta and Aaliyah Alexander really took over this fourth quarter for Eastern Washington. They were able to close the lead to single digits within at the end of the third quarter. They went on a little run at the end of the third quarter. Were able to close it to single digits, and then NAU hit a buzzer beater three at the end of the third quarter to put it back to 11 points. But like I said, Luetta and Alexander were the entire Eastern offense. They were able to close. They were really good. They scored 22. Eastern scored 22 third quarter points, but allowed 20 from NAU. Just couldn't stop them inside and giving up those threes. NAU is just a lights out shooting team. Really, really tough to stop that. Um, but Eastern dominated defensively in the fourth quarter, forcing them to go. I believe they went 3 for 15 from the field. Played really well defensively. Um, looking here, 0 for 5 from three for them, 3 for 15. But this is the catch here. They made 10 free throws in that fourth quarter. The whistles kind of all of a sudden came out in that fourth quarter. Um, both teams combined shot 21 fourth quarter free throws. The entire rest of the game, the one, two, and the first, second, and third quarters, both teams shot a combined 15 free throws. Um, it would just got tough. They were calling every little touch after the first three quarters, really not calling much. Um, it slowed the game down like exponentially. The third quarter was over. If you watch the replay on ESPN Plus, you can kind of see how far the game along is time wise. The end of the third quarter was exactly in the middle of the entire width of the video playing bar, meaning 1 quarter and 5 minutes of overtime took up the same amount as 3 quarters of action before that, and that was because of these freaking refs. It was insane. But looking at the fourth quarter free throws, Eastern shot 8 for 10 to be 80% from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. NAU shot 10 for 11. They got a few more opportunities. They shot 90% in the fourth quarter there. But in that fourth quarter, the Eagles took off offensively. Luetta was absolutely dishing. She had several really, really nice passes down to the post to Hayes, taking advantage of Bella Hayes' size on the inside. Hey, Bella Hayes is something like 6'3", 6'4", probably one of the tallest players that most of these players levels ever see in the Big Sky. And so they were using her in the pick and roll game, and Luetta was dishing the ball down low to her. She had a nice game overall offensively. Hayes did. Luetta just took over this fourth quarter. Aaliyah Alexander really took over this fourth quarter as well. She was slashing. She might have shot every free throw in that fourth quarter, except for the two by Jaleesa Lawrence at the end that we'll get to. But it really felt like Aaliyah Alexander really just hit a bunch of big shots down the stretch, as well as Jamie Luetta was making big passes, making plays defensively, and it was really, really, really fun to watch this fourth quarter. Um, the lead stayed right around 8 points the whole fourth quarter, down to about the 4 minute mark, just over halfway through the fourth quarter. Eagles were down by 8 points, and then they managed to tie it up with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left of regulation. And this is crazy, coming back from a 13-point deficit at halftime, 11-point deficit at just 6 minutes ago at the end of the third quarter. One hell of a effort from these ladies. Like, they easily could have kind of packed their lunch and went home down 13 at halftime to one of the best teams in the conference, but no, they fought their butts back, and they were able to they're really able to fight their way back into this one, tying the game up, 2.5 minutes left. Then NAU all of a sudden extended the lead back to 6 points with a bunch of free throws. I think they had two free throws by Glancy, and then they had an and one from, I believe it was Rodabo I can't get her name right, number 21, and then they had another two free throws from one of the guards, but extended the lead back to 6 points with just a minute 16 remaining. And then Eastern took the ball down. Aaliyah Alexander just drove past someone, hit a layup. Then NAU inbounded the ball. and Eastern put the pressure on, and Jamie Luetta was playing back in the backcourt, and then all of a sudden, or back in the front court, yeah, in the front court on the press, and she kind of hid in the weeds a little bit, and then picked off an outlet pass down the court, took it all the way back down to the other coast for a layup to cut the lead down to 2 points with just one, I believe it was like 56 seconds remaining. Luetta made a huge defensive play, stealing a layup. And then NAU took the ball down, and they were trying to milk as much clock as they could. And Aaliyah Alexander was called for an off-ball foul, and it was kind of a questionable foul, but there was contact. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have called it, but it was kind of a hold down. It was like by the free throw line where one of the Moran sisters for NAU was coming off of a ball screen, likely for a 3-point dagger, and Aaliyah Alexander decided to foul her, setting up for 2 free throws. I believe it was Olivia Moran went to the free throw line for 2 free throws, which is 40 seconds remaining. She made her first free throw and then missed the second free throw. I believe Alexander got the rebound, and Eastern called a timeout, which allowed them to advance the ball up to the sideline on their scoring side of the court. They then ran a play, an inbound play that Jamie Luetta ended up with the ball, and she just like dribbled around, went down below the court, and then came back until like the middle of the key and shot like a fadeaway jumper, missed it, and we kind of went, oh shit. And then Jaleesa Lawrence snagged an offensive rebound, and it was like, oh, and then one of the NAU players tied it up and was able to go get her hands in there and get a jump ball. And so both benches all of a sudden are freaking out. The NAU bench gets super loud, and then Eastern bench gets a little scared, but the possession error was with Eastern Washington, which gave the ball back to the Eags and allowed them to run another inbound play, this time from the baseline. On this one, I believe, so the weird inbound play that didn't work wasted 10 seconds clock, but with the rebound, it gave the ball back to Eastern, who got I believe there's like 30 seconds left on the clock, inbounding from the baseline. They passed the ball to Ellie Alexander. She dribbled the ball off a screen and then just hit an absolute cold-blooded three-pointer to tie the game at 71 points. It was an awesome shot. It was kind of a step back three, a deep three, damn near freaking NBA range three, over someone's head off of a little back screen. And I guess it was just an on-ball screen by Jada Martin. Really nice play. Aaliyah Alexander made some big-time shots in this game down the stretch. It was really, really cool to see. Tied the game up at 71, but it left 27 seconds on the clock, and NAU had the ball. They took the ball and kind of dribbled down really slow, just wasted as much time as possible with it being a tie game. They didn't want to give Eastern a chance to go down and either tie if they made a shot or make a shot to win. So NAU took the ball down all the way down to 5 seconds, ran a little play that was supposed to go to Rodabo, or Routabo, whatever, 21, and I think she came off a screen, got the ball from the point guard or whoever's playing the top of the key there, and dribbled down the lane and shot a layup, missed it with just about 3 seconds left on the game clock, and they were able to get an offensive rebound. Clancy snagged an offensive rebound and instantly put it back up, and Eastern was called for a shooting foul. And this allowed for it allowed Clancy to shoot 2 free throws with just 1.8 seconds left on the clock to go ahead. Of course, she drained both free throws, being a great free throw shooter. And this put Eastern Washington down by 2 points with 1.8 seconds left on the clock. Jody Gleason called a timeout. It moved the ball up to the sideline. Again, on the Eastern Washington side of the court, Jamie Luetta was inbounding the ball. They have a kind of like a spread stack that they run down on the opposite corner from the where the inbound is coming from, and they ran a play to Jaleesa Lawrence, and it kind of worked. Jamie Luetta inbounded the pass to Jaleesa Lawrence. She caught the ball right on the block and all in one motion put the ball up. to shoot, and she was fouled. They called a shooting foul on Northern Arizona with 0.6 seconds left on the clock. Jaleesa Lawrence had 2 free throws to tie the game to potentially send it to overtime, and she drained both of them. Really, really clutch performance from Jaleesa Lawrence there. Geez, I hope I didn't butcher your name. Anyways, this then gave NAU the ball with 0.6 seconds left on the clock, giving them a potential chance to go hit some crazy buzzer beater on the other end. And they called a timeout to advance the ball up to their end of the court. They ran an inbound play, but when they inbounded the ball, the inbounder threw it over the person that was supposed to receive the pass, threw it over her head, so it went straight out of bounds with no one touching it, giving Eastern the ball back. They called a timeout and then got an opportunity to run a play from the sideline on their side of the scoring court, and they ran the exact same play, or at least pretty much the same play that they did to Jaleesa Lawrence to tie the game. They basically ran the exact same play, and it didn't work. No foul to end regulation. Going into overtime, holy smokes, this game was entertaining back and forth. But overtime was just NAU's game. Eastern had no answer for Glancy in overtime. Glancy had at least 6 or 7 points in overtime. I don't think she missed it. She missed maybe one shot in overtime. Jamie Loetta had a nice shot or a couple nice shots in overtime, as well as Aaliyah Alexander, but Eastern just couldn't get a shot. They gave up 2 big threes, one big three to each Moran twin for NAU, and were just unable to recover from that offensively. Didn't shoot well in overtime. So, but it sucks to lose a game like that, but the fight that the girls showed really, makes you have hope for the tournament that, hey, if they get down, they're not going to give up. They're gonna try to go win it. And I still think Eastern's one of, if not the best team in the conference. But now I believe they're technically still in first. I have the standings right here. Here we go. So this puts NAU in first, but Eastern has the better record. But they have the tiebreaker over Northern Arizona, has tiebreaker over Eastern. Well, NAU is coming back up to Cheney to play the Eagle women here coming later in February, I believe. So this will be definitely a game to keep an eye on, because it could be kind of a de facto Big Sky championship potentially, depending on what Montana and Idaho State do and how Eastern finishes out the rest of the year here. But and Montana State with their injured stud. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the breakdown, just kind of takeaways from this game. It was a hell of a resilient performance from this Eastern women's team, but they were down double digits going into the fourth quarter. That's an awesome comeback, but points in the paint is what killed Eastern Washington. They gave up 40 points in the paint to Northern Arizona. A lot of that came from Sophie Glancy's 23 points. She had an awesome game down in the post, just dominating both on the boards and scoring, as well as Emily Robideau had a nice day, hitting a bunch of layups. She's normally a better 3-point shooter than 1 for 7. So I think Eastern was almost looking for more of the outside shots, but she knocked down some big layups down the stretch. NAU made a lot of tough shots that, any other team in the Big Sky's not making. And so you kind of got to tip your hat and be like, geez, that's an awesome play. That's an awesome team offensively. That team is going to be tough to beat. If they're not off shooting, like, they're going to be real tough to beat. 10 for 26 from 3 is a damn good in performance. Almost 40%. They had a really, really nice night shooting the ball. They had 6 players in double figures here. Glancy, like I said already, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. She did everything for them. Kind of unstoppable at times, because Eastern just didn't have an answer for her defensively. We had the size, but then she'd outmaneuver Bella Hayes, and then when it felt like we were missing Buckley in this game a little bit, missing her defensive presence. Not having. I guess I should have probably mentioned that early. Jacinta Buckley was out, I believe, with some sort of injury or illness or something. I don't exactly know what was going on there, but she did not play in this game. And so it made it tough defensively. NAU, like I said, 6 players in double figures. Rotobo, 14 points. Beatty had 12 points, 4 of them being threes. Olivia Moran had 11. Nia Moran had 10. Feldman off the bench had 12 points, as well as Sanaya Neverson also had 7 points. They're kind of big off the bench. Came in, hit a couple of easy shots down low and a 3-pointer. Also had 12 rebounds, which is a big, big deal. Geez. They out rebounded Eastern Washington 47-42. Not a huge difference, but it matters. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of this game. Eastern could have shot better. It would have probably been a much closer game. I'm gonna hit on some of the Eastern standout performances here because there were some awesome games from Aaliyah Alexander and Jamie Loetta. I'll hit on Loetta first. Loetta was outstanding down the stretch. She had a double-double in this game. She had double-double, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. She was 4 for 6 from the three-point line, shooting 66%. Aaliyah Alexander had an absolutely monster game scoring the ball. She had 31 points, 4 rebounds. She knocked down 12 of 16 free throws. She made the game-tying three to potentially tie the. She made the three-pointer to tie the game to potentially give Eastern a chance to get it to overtime. Aaliyah or Jamie Loretta made some big plays down the stretch of that fourth quarter, making defensive plays, assisting the ball down to Bella Hayes, who also had a really nice game. She had a couple of really important fourth quarter buckets. She had 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. She struggled a little bit defensively at times, but it's okay. Jaleesa Lawrence didn't have her best game offensively, but she made the game-tying free throws when it counted to send the game to overtime with 0.6 on the clock. She made the offensive rebound late that gave Eastern a chance to reset and run another inbound play to set up Alexander with that 3-pointer to send the game or tie the game late. So there were some awesome performances tonight, but there was also a lot of bad offensive performances. This was kind of an interesting stat. Aaliyah Alexander, Jamie Loetta, and Bella Hayes, they shot a combined 20 for 37. That is 54% from the field. The rest of the team went 6 for 35. Good enough for 17% field goal percentage, which is just, flat out not good. Shooting 36% isn't going to win you games, typically, unless you play a lights-out defensive game, and Eastern kind of did, but not quite. NAU they only shot 41% from the field. That's, a lot better than Eastern did, and 38% from the three was tough, and they made 17 total free throws, going 17 for 18, only missing 1 free throw in this game. Got to knock down those free throws. Came up big down the stretch, and good enough for 90% from the free throw line. That's kind of it for this women's game. It's a tough one. It was a game that they had a chance at late, but they ended up dropping. Tough one to drop to a really good team in Northern Arizona, but they got another chance to go beat them. So excited to see and look into the future, especially with a healthy Buckley, hopefully. But yeah, it'll be really fun to watch this women's team down the stretch because they really got a chance to, go down to Boise and pick up a couple of wins, potentially a Big Sky title. But okay, now we're going to flip back to the men's side of things and do a little bit of a quick and dirty preview of the Montana State and Montana game here. Looking ahead, the Montana State game is on February 1st, Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be 7 p.m. local time down there in Bozeman. And then we got Montana on Saturday at the same time in Missoula. These are two big time matchups for Eastern Washington. Looking at the men's, looking at the men's standings, I already mentioned this earlier, but that's number 3 and number 4 in conference record. They're both good teams overall. They're no slouches, that's for damn sure. And it it'll be interesting to see how Easter matches up with some better competition. I know they beat two of the I guess they beat Northern Colorado, who was known to be one of the best teams in the Big Sky, but Weber State, excuse me, Weber State's supposed to be one of the best teams in the Big Sky, and they were unable to beat them handily. It took them, a lot to go ahead and pull that Weber State win out. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle some good teams. Montana State's been an up and down team. Just kind of looking at their conference schedule here. They kind of got blown out by Weber State. They got beat by Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is usually good, so it's whatever. They got blown out by South Dakota State, Summer League, whatever. They blew out NAU. They beat on the Colorado, and then they got beat by the Grizz. They beat Idaho State. They played Idaho State pretty tough. They beat Sac State. Sac State played them tough, and then they just got beat by Portland State and gave up 91 points in regulation. It's definitely been, an interesting kind of up and down road for them. They're a good team, and they've lost to good teams. They've lost to, Weber State and Montana, who are teams that are known to be good, and, Portland State, who's supposedly good, but maybe not, but sometimes they are. It, kind of up and down, but they're gonna be good. They're gonna play Eastern tough, and that is definitely for sure. Looking at just the overall conference statistics here, they're pretty middle of the pack in most things. They're number 3 in the conference in offense, kind of a middle of the pack team in scoring defense, number 4 in scoring margin, but generally they shoot well. They're 3rd in the conference in field goal percentage, right around 52%. They're also up there with 3-point percentage, just behind Eastern Washington at 41%. Kind of middle of the pack. Free throw shooting team at about 73%, not great. And then looking kind of defensively, I already kind of mentioned they're an okay defense. They're in the middle of the pack. But their defense actually kind of is pretty comparable to Northern Arizona, who we just put up 85 points. Looking field goal percentage against, they're kind of, they're better field goal percentage against than Northern Arizona, obviously, but it's like 0.02 difference. Like Eastern's really the only outlier here on this list. Looking at 3-point against. They're one of, again, bottom in the Big Sky, not great. Looking at, I think it's most of the defensive stuff, but this is one thing that scares me about Montana State. They're a really good team at forcing steals and forcing turnovers. They average 7.5 steals per game. That's a lot of steals, and a lot of that comes from their stud of a guard in, I believe his name is Robert Ford III. He leads the conference in steals per game, which is something that scares me with Eastern's struggles taking care of the ball. So another thing to think about with Montana State is they're really not a good rebounding team. They're one of the bottom rebounding teams in almost every category except for, I guess combined opponent rebounds is kind of in the middle of the pack, but everything else are kind of towards the bottom here, rebounding wise. Not great. That's something that I think Eastern's going to have a day with, being one of the best rebounding teams in the country for the most part. Not in the country, in the conference, I should say. Excuse me. Also, Eastern should have a kind of a size advantage, not like a glaring one or glaring advantage inside like we kind of had versus NAU necessarily, but you know, I think the rebounding's a big advantage to Eastern, and I think the steals and turnovers is going to be a big advantage to Montana State, and we'll kind of see how it goes. It they're dead last in block shots. They're up there in attendance, which is kind of interesting, but I mean, it's a game that Eastern should win if they're playing their brand of basketball, but if they're turning the ball over a bunch, it could get hairy. Um, Looking at a few of their individual players, this is just in conference stats. Most of their production comes from Robert Ford III. He's kind of their do-it-all guy. He's a guard. Funny enough, he's a Idaho State transfer. He spent 2 years at a JUCO, then 2 years at Idaho State, and then now he is finishing his career out at Montana State. He was kind of their sixth man last year, but now he's kind of stepped into a bigger role, averaging 17 points a game. You know, 8 rebounds a game, 23 steals. That comes out to about 3 steals a game, 2.8 steals a game, averaging 4 assists a game. He really does a lot. He's a good 3-point shooter, shooting about 44% on the year, leads the team in threes made, shoots field goal percentage about 53%. He's a solid player. That's I think he kind of is their point guard number. Oh, I don't know what number he is, but he's a guard. I know he's 6 foot tall. I can't remember what number he is, but he's a pretty solid player, as well as Brandon Walker is a good scoring threat. He's more of an inside kind of slashing type guy. Um, 16 points a game is kind of his average, as well as about 5 rebounds, and about an assist. He has a couple steals on the year too, just under a steal per game is his average. Brian, I think it's Garak, something like that. He's averaging about 15 points a game as well. 5 rebounds and just under a block. Um, you know, they have some good players, and they're always going to be a good coached, well-coached team. I know it's their first. It's Coach Logie's first year. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Logie. His first year coaching the Bobcats, but we'll see. I don't know what to exactly expect. I'm expecting Eastern to be able to win this game relatively stress-free with the rebound advantage and the size advantage and how Eastern plays ball, but it's always going to be tough going up to Montana State and Bozeman. They're always a good team. I believe they're one of the teams that beat us last year down the stretch after our 15-0 start or whatever it was. So shoot, they've been to 3 straight Big Sky Conference championships down there in Boise. So it's definitely a game you really want to go win up there in Bozeman. It'll be a tough game. It'll probably be a good environment, even though it's a weeknight. I'm hoping for a good game. But like I said, if Eastern plays this brand of basketball, it gets the ball inside and it can hit a couple shots from the outside as well. I don't see Montana State beating Eastern. However, like I kind of already said I was scared about, the turnover bug is going to be what Montana State is going to try to attack. I know that they're a team that likes to play really aggressive defense, and they like to try and go force those turnovers. So, that's definitely going to be something that Eastern's going to have to really emphasize and practice this week and hopefully take care of the ball. Okay, and now a little quick and dirty preview of the Montana Grizz. Okay, is that? I need to click on something. Sorry. Grizz are coming at 14-7. They're 5-3 in conference. They're a good team. They're the second highest rated team in the Big Sky, I believe, behind Eastern Washington in like all the mid-major madness Twitter polls and all that type of stuff. But they're a good team. They're a really solid team, but they can be an inconsistent team. Just looking at their Big Sky slate here, they got smoked by Weber State to open up the season. Then they went up to Pocatello, beat Idaho State. Don't really need to worry about these games. They played the same teams that Eastern did, just flopped locations, and also won both of their games. They lost an overtime shootout to freaking Northern Colorado. So, they've lost to Weber, Northern Colorado, and then they absolutely smoked Northern Arizona.
beat beat the Bobcats. Wow, that could have got me canceled. And then they went up to they hosted Weber up in Ogden or up in Missoula and beat them pretty handedly. That didn't feel like a very close game, and there's something wrong with Weber State right now. I don't know what the deal is there, but um, you know, then they went to Portland and got beat. 46 total points is very, very interesting. And this is kind of what I mean when I say Montana's pretty, you know, inconsistent. They're a team that relies very heavily on their guard play and on the 3-point shot. Um, they are a team that they have 3 different players in the top 10 in the conferences in threes per game. And that's just conference stats. They rely really heavily on that. The last 2 games they've come off of some pretty shaky performances. They almost got beat by Sac State, who we all know isn't good. They really, Sac was kind of in control of this game a lot of the game, and they had to rely on a last-second defensive stop to win this one. Portland State kind of whooped their ass. Um, Portland State, like I know they're an okay defensive team, but they're not anything that insane like that. And so they're one of those teams that's just very dependent on the 3 ball. Looking at just the stuff like this, they're middle of the pack in basically everything. Total defense, total offense. Oh no, I hit the wrong button. Oh no. Uh-oh. That's going to take a while. Anyways, they're middle of the pack and just about every. I'm going to go ahead and do this because the Big Sky Conference stats takes forever to load. They're about middle of the pack in just about every category. Here is their total stats. Player by player. Just kind of looking generally. Brandon Whitney, Deshaun Thomas, Annan Moody, Vasquez, and I believe Brandon Whitney are there 3 guys that really like to shoot the 3 ball. Brandon Whitney, that seems off. Or maybe it's Thomas Deshaun. I can't quite remember. They have 3 guys that are really high up there. And yeah, I just need to look at the numbers because I'm dumb. 18 to 41, 18 to 44, 17 to 44. They shoot the 3 ball typically well. But if that well dries up a little bit, they kind of have a really tough time. Brandon Whitney also averages just shy of 16 points. I believe he's one of their big guys. I can't quite remember, but averaging almost 4 rebounds a game. Sean Thomas averaging about 6 rebounds a game. They're pretty average around the board. Here's whatever that name is, Oki. He's averaging just about 6 points a game or 6 rebounds a game. They're pretty well balanced scoring wise. I know Vasquez and Moody are really good shooters off the dribble. I haven't gotten to watch Montana a ton this year, so I don't know their team the best. But that is something that I know is very true about them is they rely heavily on the 3 ball. And when those shots aren't going in, they struggle. And that's exactly what happened in this Portland State game. They could score, and they're an average defense. They gave up 72 points, but they couldn't score any points. So, see if the stats page is loaded back up here. Oh, it is. Okay. Now you guys can see. But anyways, they're very middle of the pack in just about every single, 6th in field goal percentage against, 4th in field goal percentage. They're number 3 in the 3-point percentage, which is, good stat for them. But again, kind of number 4, kind of middle of the pack, 3-point percentage against. Really good free throw shooting team. They're a very well coached team, so they're always a good free throw shooting team, and they're always a good passing team. They don't turn the ball over a lot, which is, something that they definitely they make a big point about up there in Missoula. They always have. Just very average about everywhere else. Assist to turnover ratio right here. They don't turn the ball over typically too insanely much. They typically turn the ball over about, 10 times a game, but they'll turn the other team over about 14 times a game. And it's is that backwards? No, it's not. Anyways, it's again, it's a game where if Eastern can play their brand of ball, they should win. They're probably the more talented team. They have the size advantage inside. It just comes down to who can shoot that night. I think Eastern plays some really tough defense, but they have been a little bit susceptible to the three at times. Not like bad, but you know, sometimes there'd be a guy that just hits threes. Really hit a couple of I voice crack. Really hit a couple of nice, really nice threes as well as St. Thomas in that North Colorado game. There was a guy in the North Dakota State game that just went off and hit a bunch of threes late in that set or early in that second half. So, that's the thing that is a little bit scary about Montana is they have the potential to, you know, kind of shoot their way into a W, but they also have the potential to miss their way into a bad loss. So it's one of those games that you just don't know what to expect. It all comes down to, how they're doing that day. Being in Missoula, I kind of expect them to shoot better, and you know, have a relatively nice day shooting. Here is Brandon Whitney here on their one of the top scorers in the league, as well as Deshaun Thomas and Anna Moody. But again, it's just you don't know. It comes down to the shooting. And if Eastern can play their grand of ball, they should be able to pull this one out. If they could shoot decently well up there in Missoula, they should be able to pull this one out. But we shall see. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of all I got here on the Montana State game or Montana game, previewing the men's side of things. I'm going to cut here really quick, and then we're going to talk really quick about the women's side of things, playing the Montana and Montana State Lady Grizz and Lady Bobcats. Okay, so just kind of a quick and dirty preview of the Montana State game here for the women's side of things. Again, I haven't gotten to really watch these teams very much at all, other than really highlights. So I'm kind of just box score watching here. Um, from my understanding, Montana is probably the better of Montana State, but we're gonna hit on Montana State first here. Montana State will be coming in at 5-3. They're about 500 overall, but they have a really good home record. Luckily, they're on the road. They're playing this game in Cheney, and so it will be interesting to see how this one goes. They really seem kind of like a mirror image of Eastern. Looking at some of the team stats, they're kind of a middle of the pack offense. Eastern went up a little bit after that game at Northern Arizona, but kind of the middle of the pack offense, but a pretty solid defense. The thing that really catches my eye is this turnover margin right here. They average forcing almost 20 fucking turnovers a game. Excuse my French there, but that's really, really good defensively. They're the only team that forces more turnovers per game than Eastern Washington. Just kind of looking at their schedule really quick. They opened it up with a tough win against Idaho State, who's a really stingy good team. Beat Weber State, so not very great. Lost pretty badly to Northern Arizona, like most teams have. Lost to Northern Colorado. Again, a good team. But then they're able to beat the Grizz women at home. And again, they're one of those teams that just really they play really well at home. I don't know necessarily what it is. They're kind of good at home, bad on the road. That's kind of been their MO this whole season for the most part. I don't even know where their one loss at home is. Shoot, I don't see it. But anyways, like I say, lost to BYU at home. Yeah, but they've been a really good team at home, but luckily this game is on the road where they've struggled. It should be fun to see what the game ends up ending up like. I know that they're out one of their stars. I don't really know who it is. I'm a horrible you know I am a horrible host for not fucking knowing this, but just kind of looking they're pretty average offensively, not scoring a ton of points, but they're a really good defensive team. Most of these players average about 2 steals a game. Looking at a few of them here, I believe Lamardo's one of their really good players. I don't quite remember though. Whoever the girl is that fell and hurt her head or neck during the Montana game. I cannot remember her name. To save my life because I'm a horrible host. But yeah, that's about what I got. I just wanted to kind of give a quick and dirty preview. Looking, 13 points a game for Madison Hall. Caitlin Lamardo averaging just under 12, 10, almost 11 points for Mara Dykstra. Taylor Jansen averaging just under 10, as well as Natalie Picton. Lamardo averaging almost 9 rebounds a game and almost 2 assists a game. But kind of going back at this page here where you can see the assist to turnover ratio and turnover margin. The turnover margin scares me because how Eastern Washington struggles with turning the ball over, but Montana State's kind of a middle of the pack, the bad rebounding team. They're not a great free throw shooting team. They're the worst 3-point shooting team in the conference. Field goal wise, they're one of the worst teams in the conference again. But one of the better teams in the conference field goal percentage against. I really think they're just gonna be a good, solid defense and kind of a meh to bad offensive team. And again, it should be a team that Eastern should beat if they play their game. I keep saying that because Eastern's probably one of the most talented teams on both ends, both the women's and the men's side of things here. That's kind of what I am expecting. If Eastern can avoid the 6-point quarter, I think they should be able to wrap this one up well. If they can take care of the ball, they should be doing all right and be able to pull this one out against Montana State on Thursday. And now on Saturday, Eastern plays probably the third best team in the conference, the only team to dethrone Northern Arizona so far this year in Montana. Montana beat Northern Arizona a couple of weeks ago down there in Flagstaff, kind of surprisingly. Kind of looking at their Big Sky schedule, they beat Weber State, they beat Idaho State. They've definitely looked more like a more complete team. They lost a tough one in Northern Colorado, which is a little surprising. They beat Northern Arizona, which is kind of surprising. Then they lost to Montana State, but that was in Bozeman. Montana State's that team that just wins at home, loses on the road. So, and then they beat Weber State again, dominated Portland State, dominated Sac State. I mean, these three are kind of the bad teams of the conference, but, it should be interesting. I'll definitely keep my eye. I think I'm going to be at this game, actually, the Idaho game here in Moscow, but they're definitely a team that will be interesting to watch. I don't really know crap about them, to be quite frank with you guys. But again, just kind of scrolling through the tabs here. They're a really good offensive team, it looks like, averaging 76 points a game. That'll be tough because, with Eastern struggling offense, if they can outscore us, it'll be tough. Kind of a middle of the pack defense. Good shooting team, a middle of the pack defense again. A good 3-point shooting team, middle of the pack-ish defense again. Middle of the pack free throws. Really good rebounding team, which is interesting. One of the best in the conference here when you look at it. But they definitely seem to have a recipe there. Average about 14 turnovers a game, or 12 turnovers a game. Force about 13, or I guess they average 13 turnovers a game, force about 12. This will be an interesting one. It'll definitely be one to keep an eye on if you're a big women's basketball fan. Definitely an important one in the Big Sky. Montana's always a good team in everything they do with the resources and the fan base they have. It'll definitely be interesting to see how they adjust to come into Cheney, where Eastern has played very well. The Eagle women have, anyways. Hopefully, the shooting woes are over now that they're back at home and not on the road. Uh, I don't have a ton to add. I think again, it's a game where if Eastern's able, I think comes down to Eastern on the offensive end. If they're able to consistently score and not have a big dry spell where they can't score any damn points, I think they win this game because of their defense being a really good defense. But I mean, if we have another, NAU situation where they just keep knocking down those shots that are really tough, then it might be tough for the Eagle women to pull this one off if they can score a bunch of points. This is a quick shot of their average box scores. Looks like Carmen. Wow, what a voice crack! It's getting late, guys. Carmen Feller. I'm just gonna say, is a leading scorer, averaging 15 points a game. Has 10 blocks on the season. That's interesting. I don't know a ton about her. 5 rebounds a game. They have backup big down here. I'm assuming MJ Bruno, who averages 5 rebounds a game, 6 points. 5 people in double figures. One right on the end there, Macy Heward. That sounds like it might be someone related to the infamous Cal Poly Heward family, but hopefully Eastern's able to pull this one off. It looks like Maggie McGraw or Espen Miller McGraw here is a good 3-point shooter, shooting 47% from 3, as well as these 4 or 5 people shooting about 40% from 3. That's really impressive, actually. Well, it's a good thing that Eastern's a good perimeter defensive team. I don't have a ton to add here, but just wanted to give something for these Eagle women because they fucking deserve it. They've been awesome this year. But I think that's pretty much all I have to add tonight, guys. It's been a late night, that's for damn sure for me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Eagles Power Hour. Like I said at the beginning, coming up here in about, I believe, just under a month, we should be doing some recruiting episodes. Again, more recruit breakdowns, breaking down the guys that commit and sign in February on signing day. If we have any transfer news, I'll potentially talk about and cover that. We're trying to get defensive coordinator. His name is blanking me right now. Eric Sanders, defensive coordinator Eric Sanders, to come onto the show. I'm kind of waiting on word back. That will be a fun episode if we can get them. Also trying to get some, former EAG guests and stuff like that. So if you have any guests that you'd really like to see, leave a comment down below. I'm assuming no one's listening to this far into the show because I am annoying, but yeah, I think that's all I got. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Eagles Power Hour, and go Eagles.